It's that time of the year again, Christmas. And in this video, we're going to talk about why I believe many people have lost the true meaning of the Christmas spirits. So, Christmas time is supposed to be the most wonderful time of the year. That's the way the song goes, right? But I don't really think that's the reality, because while it is a wonderful time, there's also the dark side of it, which is the mass consumerism. Here during this season, you have many big retailers, stores, really aggressively advertise and get people to come in, buy stuff they don't need, and try to sell you stuff just to make a profit. This is the biggest time for these retailers to make or break their year. That's why there's that whole holiday in the US called Black Friday, the Friday after Thanksgiving, because it's that day in the year where retailers show a profit. And while consumerism isn't all bad, doing it in excess can be a very bad thing. And many people fall into the trap of overspending, getting into debt for Christmas, and that's not a good thing. After all, you'd like to be able to survive another year so you can spend another Christmas and buy gifts for the upcoming year. But many people are short-sighted and don't really plan for the future. And part of this, I believe, is also where people's priorities lay too. Every year, I kind of notice the Christmas season getting longer and longer. I remember when I was a kid, the Christmas season didn't really start until after Thanksgiving. That's when these retailers and stores really started advertising and pushing sales. But now it's kind of like even before Halloween, before October 31st, many of these stores are pushing sales and whatnot. And while that is like good to experience, like you want to see it all wonderful and happy, it's not really a good thing if you're very easily like prone to make impulse purchases and get into debt. And I notice a lot of people fall into that trap. And for many people, their priorities are, I believe, not really where they should be. Over the years, I've seen people really value material things, stuff like brand new shoes, what video games they have, consoles, flashy jewelry, over their social connections and their relationships. And many studies have shown this, but the biggest factor to contributing to happiness usually comes from the social relationships that people have. And I think for the people who really value material things, it's not such a good thing to value material things over the people who love you and the people who you care about. Because if you think about it, material things can always be replaced, right? If your car gets totaled, if your computer breaks down, if your clothes get torn or shrunken, you can always buy a new one. But for a person, that's never coming back. And I think a lot of people fail to realize that Christmas really shouldn't be about material things or stuff that you buy for other people. It should really be more about the social interactions that you have with your loved ones, your friends. Maybe instead of buying, flashy jewelry or fancy clothes or whatnot for Christmas, maybe make an effort into meeting your friends, your family, telling them how much you love them, and just appreciating their time. instead of valuing all these material possessions, because I think that's a real trap to begin with. And I don't really fault people too much, because the media has really done a good job at really hypnotizing people, I should say, into like making these purchases for items that they don't need. The main point I want to make is try to think Christmas with a level head and don't really spend more than what you can afford, and you will not fall into that trap. And secondly, I believe that Christmas has really changed in a way from, times past when people had more in-person gatherings and social connections. And that's what I really think Christmas should be, to spend time with your loved ones and whatnot. But I've noticed in the modern age, people are glued to their phones, their screens, their computers, and not really interacting with one another. It's kind of like we've gotten lost in the digital age, even though all this technology is supposed to make us be closer together. And in a way, it's kind of like monopolizing our time and not really focusing it on the areas where we should be, which is our social connections, because that's what the main factor that contributes to our happiness. I was observing one of my friends. The parents, they had their daughter out in the party, and instead of playing with their daughter, having the daughter have fun and talk with people, they just gave her an iPad and let her sit in front of the iPad the whole time that the party was going on. And I'm kind of thinking in the back of my head, like, wow, this is the way parenting is now? You just let your kids sit down in front of a screen the whole time and not interact with people? Is that a healthy thing? Just think about the psychological effects that has on especially young children, where they won't really know how to interact with other people, and they just know how to interact with a screen. That's something that kind of worries me in the digital age, how people are really absorbed into all this technology, not really socializing in person as they used to. And I really hope that changes. I feel like the true meaning of the Christmas spirit has really been lost throughout the ages. People aren't really valuing their happiness or their money enough. While it is good to spend money, don't go into debt to spend Christmas, because it's going to be a lot harder to get it back and enjoy another Christmas season. And also, we really need to get back to our roots. Stop socializing with our screens, and we need to be talking with others face to face, having more social interactions in person, because I believe that'll bring us together and it'll make us a lot happier in the end. Anyway, hope you enjoy this video on why I believe many people have lost the Christmas spirit. If you enjoyed it, hit that like button, subscribe. I'll see you next time. Bye everyone. Take care.